I was just telling Daniel, we've been here a long time, I've never seen anything get out of him.
No, I don't think we were.
Right here.
I think every
You don't
now
have to go as far today.
talking and visiting, they want to find something, and I've never had to do that. So, but
You're right.
Joe walked off, he said, I love you.
Hey, Jim.
He called me 3 days before we got here.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sure. Here, one second, Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think.
Here you go, you want to sit
I
down.
didn't. I went there.
Yes, please.
What I had was.
Could have been, it's why I didn't. And
Good morning. How you doing? Fine, how are you?
Good
Really.
morning, Tim.
Yeah, we're in a cozy spot. Yeah, hi, Jeff Baskin. Yes. Hey, Clay Max. Hi, Jeff Baskin. Thank you. Greg shows up, he'll just have to. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everybody. I'm gonna call this meeting to order on this beautiful day. We had some windy days last, I guess Monday, but now it's a great day. So I think it'll get a little warmer over the weekend. I want to introduce Clay Maxey, and if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about yourself and welcome to the Arkansas Motor Vehicle Commission, and we're so proud that you're part of this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this honor to get the opportunity. So it's my 29th year in the car business. I've got 5 stores, 3 new car stores and 2 standalone pre-owned. I started, my best friend Steve Landers Jr., so I started with the Landers family when right out of high school. Went up the ranks when we sold to the Penske Group. I stayed on and did the publicly held deal for a little while, and then 15 years ago, I got into private ownership. So
Congratulations to you. That's kind of a good way to be. Start at the bottom, work your way up. You're a great man.
well, I appreciate the opportunity. Got 3 kids and a lovely wife, and we live in Mountain Home. So
Great. Thank you. Welcome again.
well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We know you were here by Zoom when you were here, but you're now in person.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
and part of us. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for your service. All right, we have the minutes of the January 31st meeting, and they were sent to you, but if you want to go over those again, I'll give you a few minutes. And we'll need a motion for approval on that, please.
I move we approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the Wednesday, January 31st meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We also need approval of the financial, the revenue, and the expenditures for today. That is in your book, but anyway, if you wanna visit with us about anything particular, Daniel.
Yeah, so we've got that summary kind of revenue deposit list for you in the front there. And that just kind of gives you an overview of revenue, license revenue for the year so far. That was as of last, I think, Wednesday, Alexis. So we've had a few more deposits since then. So we're actually, I did the math this morning, we're actually setting it about 416 on the year. And we're still collecting a lot of late fees and penalties. So we're gonna easily be right around where we were last year. Morning, Greg. So we're right in line with that. The other summary sheets in here are just kind of an overview of revenue, but also of our expenditures. And if you look at the expenditure summary, you'll notice that we are well within our appropriation on all the levels. So we're not, in any danger of any issues there. So.
I'm not worried at all about that, but that's comforting enough.
Yeah, but I will say that ELP has really allowed us to, I think, step up our collection of late fees and penalties this year. So we're going to see a lot more of those by the end of the year than we would just because of that tool we now have.
I like the way you do it. So the tool's working well.
It is. It has been very helpful with that especially. So
Are there any questions for Daniel or anyone here in Alexis or whoever gets this job gets to take care of all.
We all.
You all have
we
a
all
part
help.
in that, I know. I need a motion for approval, please.
So moved.
Jimmy,
Second.
moved and seconded that we approve the financial revenue and expenditure. With all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Then sign. Motion carries. Michael,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say welcome to you too. Sorry, we see your shiny face. We're sorry you're not with us, but we know you're,
There it is.
you
All
all
right.
together, so good.
Yes. Good morning.
Good. Thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Director's report, Daniel.
Yes, so in that, revenue is part of that, we kind of
Right.
already over. Lexus, I want to brag on her a little bit. We've obviously got the, activity reports in there like we had last month, but she's also figured out a way in our new license and permit system to kind of do a summary breakdown for you guys, from month to month. In this case, it's from January until, March 21st. But this is basically a breakdown list on the license submissions for those 3 months in the system, and by license type. So, she had to do a little bit of her, own creativity on the spreadsheet because it doesn't actually give you the figures at the bottom.
Right.
We have to do that ourselves, so it's not like it automatically generates that, but, she did a really great job with that. So we're gonna start providing this report in all of the meetings from now on, just to kind of give you guys a snapshot of that. So, but that's just for the first 3 months of this year is what that is. So, and then we've also got, some new dealers in here. That's what these memorandums kind of show you. And then we had, I believe it was Lewis Group moved a couple of their dealerships in Fayetteville to new locations. So that's what those are. They moved, just a few miles down the road, those relocations. And, we have a couple of new dealers, Cox Implement, Epoxy, and Jonesboro, they're selling bad boy UTVs up there. And then this River City Hydraulics is a specialty vehicle deal. That'll be our second specialty vehicle deal in the state. We've only got 2 of those. So, in terms of dealer renewals on ELP, we've really done well with that. Alexis and Margie have been working hard to stay on top of that. I think last meeting I said we had around 40 left. Well, we've now got that down to, I believe it's 2. Alexis, Margie, 2 left.
Sorry, 2 or 3.
2 or 3 left of dealers that haven't renewed since last year, so we're doing really well on that. Yes.
And dealers are supposed to renew before January 1.
They're supposed to renew. They're supposed to renew by they have until January 31st before they get late fees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of coincides with the
Yes.
dealer license that we have to provide to the revenue office for
Correct.
the plates.
Correct. So they're supposed to have it done by then. Unfortunately, some of them wait until January, but
Yeah.
as long as they get it done by the end of January, there's no issue there. We've only had a few dealers that we've had to issue late fees to so far this year. They've been really good about it. None of the auto dealers, I don't think any of the auto dealers had any late fees. So it was mainly the cycle and the RV dealers. Yeah, we're doing really well with that. And I think, yeah, we're down to single digits on people, and Margie and Alexis have really been, getting on and about that. I think they're pretty close to being done with those too. So,
Oh, that's perfect.
um,
Wait, no, I'm sorry.
okay, yeah, okay, investigation. So that's,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
I was trying to stay on track here.
We
So we do have Margie and John. We have 2 investigators now full time, which is awesome. Margie and John are doing great work. They're really staying on top of it. And I think if you look at the, what we call consumer assistance report, the complaint reports, you'll see how fast they're really closing out some of these investigations and really getting on those. I've had them add a dealer visits column to their investigation summary report down at the bottom for you, just so you can see how many dealer visits they've done in the past couple months. Between the 2 of them, I think we're up to 115 now. And I know John has done a few since we put this report together, this week. So, I think our goal really is to have between Margie and John visit every dealer in the state by the end of the year. That's kind of the goal. And John's obviously covering the northern part of the state, and he's really been getting around. Margie's gonna start getting out more now that we're kind of through the renewal season. She's been helping us with that. So she's also managed to do 24, 25 or so with that. So we're really trying to get out and see everybody and make sure everybody knows that we're still here.
Yeah, I think that's
So,
a good idea. I think so many things that are COVID, we, haven't been able to do,
Exactly.
and not having that,
Yeah.
an investigator,
yeah,
so.
I think John was in Fort Smith last week or the week before, and he's seen a went by and visited a few dealers that said they haven't seen some in the commission in a couple of years, so that's
Yeah.
probably good to be out there.
And you all can go yourselves, consumers, if you want, and we know that we can all do this. I'm kidding about that. I always get on Ford Trotters and I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm investigating your showroom now.
investigation wise, Margie and John, as you can see, their reports been working really hard on some advertising issues. That seems to be a lot of what we're seeing right now is advertising and title issues and a few other minor issues here and there. We've had a few unlicensed dealer issues we've had to deal with, but mostly it's advertising and title issues, complaint wise. That's what we're doing with complaints. So
That's just a letter to from you or it's beyond your control.
some of that is just a phone call. I mean, sometimes John and Margie can make a phone call
Right.
and we get that taken care of. It just depends on what it is. And sometimes it does require a letter. But that's mainly what we're seeing right now. And we're trying to, I do my best to keep it divided out between John and Margie's, where John kind of keeps the northern half of the state. So he's really responsible for the northern half of the state. Margie's responsible for central and southern components too. So
I think as inventories increase in car dealerships, you'll see more advertising.
Yeah.
yeah,
Already seen an uptick.
we're starting to see more mailers go out. We're having dealers ask us more questions about mailers and online advertising as well. Just kind of preemptively making sure that they're within the rules. So and I expect we'll continue to see that increase as we go, as Scott said. Does anybody have any questions for the investigative report? Any questions for John or Margie? And then complaints wise, we're, as I said, doing really well with those, especially this year. If you look at the non-formal and formal complaint list, Margie and John have really stayed on top of that. And getting those worked on and closed out as fast as we can. And in most cases, we're able to get those issues resolved, especially the formal complaints. The formal complaints sometimes are a little more intensive and take a little more time. But the non-formal ones, we really try to get those taken care of within a week or two if we can, unless circumstances dictate that it's going to take a little bit longer than what the issue is. So also had them prepare an ad review list. So this ad review list you see at the end here, those are not complaints. Those are just ad reviews that either John or Margie have undertaken themselves, or in many cases, the dealer will call us or send us an email asking us to look at an ad or look at something they're considering doing to make sure that it complies with Rule 3 so that they don't have any issues down the road. So we've already had 6 of those this year. The dealers have asked us to kind of look at them. So, and Margie and John have gotten a lot of experience with that now, and I feel like they're both well versed in Rule 3, so they are really kind of taking the lead on that. Any of those issues that come up, I kind of let them decide how they want to handle that. And if it's really complicated, then I'll get involved. But they are great with those advertising issues. And that's pretty much it I have for the business.
Have questions?
Yes, sir.
The 2 open complaints from 22.
Yes.
Is that just ongoing litigation kind of situation?
Those are ongoing matters dealing with dealer manufacturer disputes, and I've got basically, we've got to make, Michael and I might have to talk about it, but we've got to, had a hard time getting commitment from the dealer on, what their stance is on that. So we've got to follow up with their legal counsel and figure out where those stand. Those have been ongoing for a while. They're just, pending status, because they haven't really made a decision if they want to move forward with it. So that's what that is.
So we go back to 22, all this needs still to be on the file.
Yes, yeah, it's all like that. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I see that. Okay, sounds good. Michael, do you have something for legal briefings or we don't have any?
I have one item that I wanted to let the commission know about.
Sure.
So I got word from Daniel the other day that there is a market area dispute that has been filed. For those who don't know broadly, when I say market area dispute, it's whenever a new dealer proposes to locate within an existing dealer's relevant market area. So within a certain amount of time, that existing dealer can file a complaint and ask for a hearing. And so that's what has happened. The commission has to give that hearing within 180 days. So this is a ways down the road if it goes to a hearing. So there's no action to be taken right now. I just wanted to give you all the really basic rundown as to what's going on in the background in preparation for that. So I have talked with some of the legal counsel for the parties. They're getting together. They're going to try to work this dispute out so you don't have to have a hearing. But what I've told them both is we're going to communicate monthly with each other to see where they are on that. If we get to like a 3-month mark, I'm going to let Daniel know that we probably need to go ahead and set a hearing, and then you'll be getting communication of what your availability is. It may be at a regular meeting. It may be at a special meeting. I'm not quite sure yet. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on in the background. Daniel and I are handling it. If it comes to the point where we think it makes sense in front of you all, we'll let you know.
What type of dealership? Is it automotive? Is it ATV?
It's cycle.
Okay, it's not on the-
No problem. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody, any other questions? Thank you very much. So we have some action items that we need, some renewals under A and B. We need to take those one at a time.
The first two, yeah, A and B, we're gonna do one at a time,
All right.
because they're a little unique. And the first one, Navistar, which is a refund request for a manufacturer branch license that was renewed in error. I'm actually gonna let Alexis kind of take the lead and explain that, because she's the one that's been talking to these people about this.
And that's back, excuse me for interrupting,
Yes.
under that tab, under notices of.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
You get to it.
Yeah,
Hearing.
there's a letter in there that we had them draft and send to us for this request, and to kind of explain a little bit of what they're asking for. But I will let Alexis explain the background so that you understand why they're asking for this.
Good morning, guys.
Yeah.
So in regards to the Navistar refund request, Navistar Inc. located in Plano, Texas, they have sent us a letter asking to be reimbursed their $900 manufacturer grants license renewal fee. They have 2 licenses with us, license MB 10402 and license number M10443, which is in Leslie, Illinois. They recently acquired new staff to renew their licensing, Ms. Perez Dorman. When she was assigned this, it was actually after our renewal time period for manufacturers. So she did in fact get the Illinois license renewed. And I sent her a voluntary license surrender agreement on February 16th. as they had not renewed their license, and we just wanted to let them know, hey, this is not renewed. If you do not want it, this is an option for you. She then sent us back an email letting us know that she did not want to surrender that license and instead wanted to change the address to the Illinois location. At that time, not being aware that they already had an Illinois location license. She went through the process, she renewed that that Texas license, changed the address to Illinois, and then it came to her attention that we did in fact have 2 licenses for that company. After noticing that, she asked that they be reimbursed the $900 because they do in fact need to fill out a voluntary license surrender. She has had that sent over. The Vice President, Mark Beaslyle, he signed that on March 7th and sent that over to us with that letter. That's in another section of our agenda today.
They're on the list, yeah.
Yes, that voluntary license surrender is gonna be number 24-026. We'll come to that in a little bit. So at this point, they're just asking to be to be reimbursed that $900 because that is not a license that they need. She renewed the license on the 3rd and sent in a letter to have it, she renewed it on the 5th and sent in a letter to have it reimbursed on the 7th. So they had about 2 days of having it before they realized their error.
And just to be clear, they don't need this license.
They do not
Is what
need
they're
this
saying.
license.
They don't need it
They're doing
because, so
all of their business out of Illinois. They are not doing any business out of Texas.
that's why they're, just for one, because they don't need the license.
They have moved all their representatives to the Illinois location as well, so they don't have any reps under the Texas location.
Thank you. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask, but I mean, basically they made a mistake. They're a new person that was licensing and went ahead and renewed this license, and then they, a couple days later, figured out they don't have to renew the license. So that's why they have this letter requesting a refund of the $900 because they're not going to use it and they're surrendering it today.
Yes.
So, and it's a manufacturer branch license. So they're doing all their business out of their main manufacturer location out, Leslie, Illinois.
Any questions? I need a motion on this, please. I need a
You feel like
motion.
they deserve to have the
That's what I'm
refund.
saying. I mean, I asked.
I think in this instance, yes.
Yeah, I thought
They're
that's what you were telling. us.
they're operating in good faith. They're
Yeah.
not trying to get around the
Well, I
system.
moved that we grant the request to refund their, license on the one they did in error.
Second, moved and seconded that we grant, Navstar their, refund of their license fee of $900. And do everything over. If I said that correctly.
I think so.
All those, you'll fix it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Done. Motion carries.
Thank you. And that moves us to our second item here that we're going to discuss individually. Mr. Fish and Sunset Park and RV. So they have a active manufacturer license with us. This was one that actually renewed late. I believe it was 4 months late, Alexis, right? That's why they have the
Yes.
$1,800 late fees. It's 50% of their license for every 30 days they're late, is what our statute says, so 450 times 4, 1,500. Mr. Fish, just his background, and I had him draft this letter. I talked to him on the phone about this a week or two ago, and, you know, he explained all this to me in terms of why they don't want to have to pay this late fee. What he's basically asking of the commission is he not have to pay the late fee. I talked to him on the phone. He was not the one in charge of licensing before this year. As you all know, we moved to a new system this year. And I don't think he got the original communications from what I understand that we were sending out to let everybody know that. When we did finally get a hold of him, when was it, Margie? October, November, we finally were able to get a hold of him. He renewed, right away. And essentially this is up to you guys. I mean, they were late. They were late by 4 months, and unlike some of the other people that we're gonna, explain here in a minute, which is why I have them badged in bulk there for their late fees. They didn't try to renew on time. I mean, they didn't send in the old paper forms. They didn't contact us. They didn't email. They were just late. But he's essentially asking you guys for a break. They're acting in good faith. His rationale, if you read the letter, is essentially they have one dealer in Arkansas. And what he told me on the phone is kind of what he lays out in the letter. It's, I'm not sure I can justify paying an $1,800 late fee when we have one dealer in the state. I'm not sure we can even continue our license at that point. So I told him I would, if he would write a letter, I would take it to the commission and let them decide if they felt like they wanted to waive the late fee or not. But it's totally up to you. I mean, I think this gentleman is being honest with us in terms of he wasn't one responsible for this before. They've been licensed with us since 2018. So, they've been doing it the old way the past few years.
They've never had an issue or.
We've never had an issue with them before. They don't have a previous history of being late. So I think this was just an issue that it kind of fell through the cracks when their last person left. And, contacted them. We were finally able to get him on the phone. They did immediately renew. But he's been pretty adamant with emails and phone calls that he does not want to have to pay this late fee. So that's why I had him write the letter. So you guys could look at it and decide if you want that. Again, we haven't had an issue with them before. They haven't been someone that has failed to renew before or pay their fees before. They did renew and pay their license fee, so they're active now. But I'm not, I don't really have a feeling on one way or the other. I would, whatever you guys want to do, really do, and I've already explained that to them.
And the license fee is $450.
No, the license fee for a manufacturer license is $900. Yeah, he's already paid the $900.
And the penalty is 50% of the license fee for
Every 30 days, you're late. It needs 4 months. When they renew. So, 1,800.
Is a partial penalty possible?
If you want to do that, yes, I mean, then you guys can make a motion that you want to cut the penalty down to whatever you want it to be, or not at all. That is totally up to your discretion. It says in the statute that, that's what the penalty is, unless the commission waives it. I'm paraphrasing, but, you can waive it at your discretion, basically. Or
Partial waivers of. Yeah, I mean, maybe not completely waive it, but, still like $100 or something. Just,
I would say the 30-day fee would be $450.
Yeah.
That's kind of the minimum late fee.
that is the minimum for manufacturer, yes. And I think that would be reasonable. I think he would gladly probably take that.
I mean, that's still a lot better than $1,800.
So
You think it'll be late next year?
I do not. I do not think so. No, not especially now that we have all these people on the new system. I'll be honest with you, they don't have an excuse.
And did they renew on the new system?
Yes.
When they did renew?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're familiar with the new system
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, there will be no excuse next year. And the new system, the way it works, if you've experienced this.
Yeah.
I mean, it sends out notifications, emails and reminders that it's time for you to renew and when your license expires. So really, you don't have an excuse anymore.
Okay.
So
You visited with him.
I did.
How do you think he'll feel about a partial?
I think he'll be happy. I think he will accept that. I think he's just looking for some kind of break on.
Mr. Chair, you need a motion?
Yes, it did.
I'm making a motion that we're doing $450. If he's not pleased with that, well, this is something else.
I second that.
Been moved and seconded that we, waive the 1,800, but charge Sunset Parking with RV a late fee of $450. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you very much. I think it's very fair.
Well, let me ask you a quick question related to that issue. Sure. Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Certainly, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I'm Greg Kirkpatrick, Arkansas Auto Dealers. In the future, is this gonna be, will that penalty automatically be assessed to a dealer renewing late or a manufacturer? In the new system, will it just?
You mean just
If they're on day 31, will it automatically?
So it can come into EL for, is that what you're asking?
So,
Yes.
Okay.
so you're asking if it's automated?
Automatic.
Automated.
No, it is not automated. The way it works is in the new system, once they are late, obviously it shows their license expired and we know when they're late. We have to go in and create an invoice for a late fee payment and send it through the system to the dealer or manufacturer, whoever it is, which is what we'll do to Mr. Fish. We'll create an invoice and send it to him on his account, and they can pay it with a credit card or, ACH on their account, and then it, sends it back to the system to us, that's paid, it shows up as paid on the disbursement. So it's not an automatic, that it's automatically issued. It's up to us to basically issue the invoice. So if the commission wants to waive it for somebody, we can always do that depending on the circumstances.
Does it send you a notice that, yes, you get a notice when they renew, so then will Alexis then have to go through to kind of reconcile they did renew on time?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we know when they renew. It
There's
shows
a
up.
date.
It shows the date they submitted and renewed and paid and all of that. So it's all in the system, it's all black and white. There's no way to,
That's dates and times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
One reason I was asking, I knew audit kind of hit everybody on this a while back. Back in the day, these used to just get waived without much effort on the staff, and then I think that
Yes.
ended up biting the commission. Probably some of my handiwork, but,
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
but in the future.
We'll
you
get
would-
into that. 'Cause we didn't-
In the future, you would have to then,
Yeah.
if a manufacturer renewed on the 31st day, you would then have to catch it. Then you'd have to reconcile that they were late and then bring it to the commission for approval though.
If they want it to be
So
waived,
They want
if they want it to be
Not
waived,
assess it.
if they want it to be waived in any way, we have to bring it before the commission.
Yeah.
Because that has to be the commission's decision. I can't make that decision.
That's it.
Somebody else have any questions about that? It's a good question, Greg.
Yeah, it is, because I'm thinking maybe they should put that in that software for y'all, or is that harder? Would that make it harder?
That's a longer conversation.
Never mind. Since I don't write software.
That's what I say, you might not appreciate that.
They probably wouldn't, but I'm thinking if that could happen, would that be harder or easier?
Also along the ELP line, is it up to the licensee to notify the commission of a change in contact?
Yes, I mean, they're supposed to let us know when they change contact information, or if they have a new person, really, they are supposed to let us know.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened over here had we known that.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, that would help. That's true.
It's much easier for them to do that.
And they have a form in this, correct, well, Alexis is right, there's a form in the system that's basically a business update form that the dealer or manufacturer trigger can fill out, and it will submit to us, and once we approve it, it changes all of the contact information if they have new people. So we try to make it as easy as possible. Or if they'll just let us know, we'll go in and change it for them. It's really,
Yeah, no, we don't know what y'all are talking about naturally, the consumer, if we can see this before, I like, just like a screenshot.
But
It'll
they
be
have every
easier for us
opportunity.
to make a decision on that,
Yeah.
because I had no idea.
But as a dealer, you've got every opportunity to
Yeah, I was gonna say.
communicate properly
Right.
and give the right information to the commission. So that the request can go to the correct person.
correct. And Greg knows this, but I mean, it actually has language in our statute that says basically that the licensee is responsible for updating the commission about business structure changes, that sort of thing. So
The onus is on the manufacturer.
We do our best.
Kind of what I wanted.
We do our best to stay on top of it as much as we can, but
Well, there's so many that there's nothing possible. Unless you know, unless they fall.
yes.
Good question. Thank you, Greg, for that.
All right.
We are on to C, the manufacturer, distributor, and representative list to request to waive license renewal late fee.
So-
Here we are.
So I sectioned these off to their own sections, because these are a little different, and I'm gonna have Michael kind of explain what we need to do in terms of the motion for you guys. Because my understanding is we can kind of do a batch motion on
I
this.
did ask that question.
But the first part there, these are all of we included all of them in this package for you guys. These are the list of all of the people, manufacturers, these are just manufacturers, distributors, and manufacturer distributor representatives that have already renewed on ELP, so they're all on ELP, they paid all of their renewal fees. And this list of folks are the people that actually made a good faith effort to send us the old, because used to we did it with old forms, you would send in and send your check in. These people, because of kind of the issues we were talking about earlier, had some miscommunication, new people, whatnot. They sent in the old forms with their check, so they were on time with that
Oh,
and tried to do it the old way and actually had payment ready. And they had all their information, but we had to go on the new system this year, so they had to go online and do it. And that was why they were a little late. Most of these were, most of these were like, what, 1, maybe 2 months? Like most of these people were, once they were notified by us, got on it right away that, no, you can't send in paper anymore. You have to go on the new system and renew this way. And they did all get that done. But all of these people, we have, a folder full of documentation where they actually did send the commission the old forms and a check to pay for all of it. So it's not like they were trying to be late. They just didn't get it on the new system in time for them to not be technically late. So that's why I batched all of them together for you here, so you can see who all these people are. We have the reps listed, in parentheses. They have their company listed next to them, so you know those are the rep, that's who they're a rep for. But basically, we have the documentation for all these people were making a good faith effort to renew on time, and they just didn't get into the system on time to renew. And they have since renewed, so they paid all their license. So this is basically just asking for the commission to waive the late fees that would be associated with that renewal. Because they were, a few weeks or a month or 2 late in the new system. And we batched them all together here, and I'll let Michael kind of explain how that's supposed to work in terms of the motions.
Sure, yeah, I mean, if you feel that all of them should be approved, all you need to do is make a motion to approve all of the requests to waive license renewal late fees found in 7C of the agenda.
And this is a one-time situation because from now on, we'll.
Yes, that's a
Whole
good
system.
That's a good point.
I could have thought maybe this would happen.
I did too.
I'm not surprised.
I did too, but this is a one-time situation because all of these people are on ELP now. They had experience with the new system. And going forward, just like you guys had with the dealer renewal this year, it's important to remember with manufacturer distributors and reps. It was a little different for them than it was for the dealers because the dealers, we were able to migrate all of the license data into the new system. So with the distributors, manufacturers, and all the reps, we weren't able, the ELP was not able to do that because of all the data. So we had to ask them to submit basically a new application into the system and do it that way. So they had to do a whole new application. So it was a little harder for them than the dealers in terms of the amount of information they were submitting, the documents.
I mean, if they made an attempt to pay on time, then
Yeah.
I don't think there's.
And all of these people, they all did. And again, you're right, Scott, this will not happen again. We won't ask this kind of request again because we're on the new system now. And the renewal notifications on the new system going forward, they won't have an excuse.
So any of these people that might be late in the future, there would be no excuse.
They're just gonna be like, because they will get all of the reminders and they're already in the system. All they have to do is go in and fill out the application. So.
I move that we, waive the late fees for those who are mentioned in 7C. Request to waive license renewal fee.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we, I'm trying to see what you said. 7C, all the requests to waive the late fees for 7C on the agenda. All those in favor say aye. All those.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we go to the voluntary license surrender agreements. There's a page of them also on in your
Yes.
binder.
So we have the list, and then also in the back there, you have a copy of every license surrender agreement, which was also included in the package for you guys to look at too. These are all, so just to give you some background, we're basically trying to get caught up on all of the dealers and manufacturers and distributors in the last year that either A, have gone out of business, B, have sold their dealership to somebody else, and so are surrendering that license. Or in some cases with some of the cycle dealers, as we see from year to year, they just basically had one or two product lines and they decided to just get out of that business. So they no longer, they may still be in business, but they're not selling any new franchise products. They don't need a license anymore. So, and that's what some of those are. But this is the list of, and the copies of all the ones we've gotten back from people so far that have signed them and sent them back to the commission for approval to surrender their license. And we listed those out by number and the name of the business there. And unless somebody just has specific objection or question, I think.
Yeah.
Handle that the same
Can you
way.
imagine?
So, but take a minute to look at them. If somebody has a question about one, let us know, but we have come up with these surrender agreements in the past few years to try to streamline this process and make it a little easier for dealers and licensees to surrender their license when they're no longer in business, so we don't have to go through, because we were getting a lot of pushback on some of the consent agreements that we had in the past from some companies. So we try to make it a little cleaner, and a little more efficient, and easier to deal with.
And all of these were in good standing?
Yeah. They had paid last year. Yes. So
I'm actually curious about a couple, the Airstream, the voluntary license surrender, is that because they don't have any dealers in Arkansas anymore?
yeah, they don't have any dealers right now, so they're surrendering their license.
And if somebody in the RV world did pick up Airstream as a
They would have,
franchise, then Airstream would have to come back in.
in order for, and we mentioned that in each agreement that, you understand that surrendering this license, you would have to get a new license basically. To come to the commission. We don't decide to do business in Arkansas again. So if someone decides to pick up Airstream again, yeah, they're gonna have to get licensed with the commission. Correct.
And
The Heritage Jaguar, were they all new names? New, like,
Those are all the same, owned by the same guy. He's sold,
Okay.
those are sold to somebody else.
Right.
and Polaris Industries,
So.
is that Polaris ATVs?
So this is Polaris, it's, if you notice in parentheses, these are all branch locations. So what Polaris has done, and that's why I put the MD next to them, what
Okay.
they've done, Alexis, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what they've done is basically they've gotten manufacturer licenses instead of branch licenses.
Okay.
They decided they didn't want the branch license. So they're surrendering the manufacturer branch license, but they still have a manufacturer license for each one of those locations. Each one of these is a separate location for Polaris, basically. And they've got manufacturer license this year in the new system because they decided they'd rather have that than branch location license. Which they can do. That's what they're. So that's what those are. But yeah, Polaris is still, they're still licensed. They're still active.
any other questions? I need a motion on this, please. And we can do them all the same way we did the other one.
Motion to accept the voluntary license surrender agreements for those listed in section 7D.
Second,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded that we approve the voluntary license surrender agreement in 7D of our agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you. And, we will have more at the next meeting to approve as well. I know Alexis and Margie have the list. They're kind of going down and working on getting back from some folks.
I don't know if you noticed, but that last one is 24-077. We sent out about 82 of them. So as you see, we only have 28 back this month. Since we put together the packet, I believe we got 3 more back this week that are just starting on this agenda.
But we will have some more this year to.
Okay, we're on to E, the automotive education grant.
Yes, yes, ma'am. So we've started the process for that, for this fiscal year. The deadline for submissions for that, was Wednesday, Thursday, so last week. And I believe we have 11 applications, at this point. So we've got to get those all batched together and sent over to the career and technical education folks, the Office of Skills Development, because at this point they are still responsible for administering and making recommendations back to you guys as to which ones they want to fund. And then we also have to figure out with finance how much we're going to be able to fund this year. So we're still working on that. But we have 11 applications. There's some really good ones in there. And when I meet with those folks about this, I will obviously do my best to try to get them to, make some good decisions. But again, the way it works in the statute at this point, they make the recommendations back to the commission, and then I bring them to you guys to look at. And if you don't agree or don't, you want to do it differently, you can always say, well, we don't necessarily agree with the recommendation, send it back to them. We can talk about it again. So. I'll also say that we're working on in the next session getting this changed. Yes, I'll say about that at this point, but we are working on it.
The money is variable, from year to year.
Yes, at this point. We want to get in a position with the changes to where we can fund it up to 250 every year. That's what the goal is. But yeah, at this point, we still have to check with office skilled people and our finance to see how much we're going to do with it.
Last year,
Last year we funded it was a little over 48,000 to 4 institutions is what we had last year. So
and we expect the money to be about the same this year.
I think it'll be about the same or a little bit based on what I've seen so far. But I don't have the final figures on that yet. We still got finance, still got to figure that out. But Joy and I talked about this, and we are working on getting it to where we can.
I don't know that'll happen.
There's no reason not to. So.
But there really isn't. But everybody's sitting their form back in, those that have signed and done, so that's a
Yes.
good thing.
Yes.
Your evaluation, and everybody's used it like they said they would.
Yes, as with the
That's
last.
a good thing.
The ones we funded last year have expended all of their funds. So. I think.
Greg, do you have anything for us?
Got some stuff.
No, I think, heading into the next session, we are gonna work on, trying to fix leasing in Arkansas. That's kind of a number one goal of
Leasing
mine.
is a-
Yes, Arkansas's lease penetration rate is one of the worst in the country, definitely the worst in the South. To put it in perspective, Gulf States Toyota that has 5 states, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. I think they average in the 30% range. New vehicle lease penetration, Arkansas is like at 6%. There are 2 key factors. Obviously, the cost of vehicles is really kind of driving this, but the credit that the federal government is issuing for electric vehicles, and that $7,500 credit is actually easier to access than to access a lease. It doesn't have the same battery component minimum requirements, so it actually opens up the opportunity for vehicles. And the financial institutions get the credit for it, but it drives the whole cost of the lease down. So that's something that there are some systemic problems in Arkansas that make leasing complicated. And it's going to be complicated to change it. But we're trying to, the treasurers and assessors in each county Jimmy knows that. They're very independent, very individual, and they get leery about any kind of change. The FNA over the years has been concerned. They know they know the revenue they collect and lease tax, and I think they're changing this, but they've always just estimated what they're gonna lose, and they never take into account what they might gain. Especially in the lease transactions where you're automatically returning the vehicle 3 years or less and then getting it back in the cycle. So that in terms of moving into the next session, that's a big one. I was at a meeting yesterday with Jim Hudson. He's the director of the FNA. The special session starts in 2 weeks, I think. The special fiscal session starts in 2 weeks. He said that they're holding state spending in growth to like 1.5%, which is really low. It's been more like 3.5-4% the last few years. But the governor apparently really wanted to keep it at that number. What does that mean? It definitely probably was a pretty serious tax. That's again, I would assume, going into the next full session. So they're just trying to hold that spending line. I don't know what it'll do. It shouldn't affect the request for this training. To me, that's a huge no-brainer from an association perspective. Whatever we can do to help get the technician issue resolved, and it is, you know, this. I mean, Scott, you know this. I mean, it's worse now than it was a decade ago. It's worse every year. It's substantially worse. You really can't drive by a dealership without seeing technicians wanted. I don't know if either of you were doing it, but I mean, it is routine now for technicians to get thousands of dollars in signing bonuses, guaranteed contracts. Are you having to do that?
Definitely, having to be attractive and our line for technicians. I mean, we're our highest paid employees are technicians now, you know, well over the salespeople. But yeah, we put in a really aggressive retention plan, actually at my biggest store yesterday for technicians, with some annual bonuses, even boot bonuses, you know, for buying the gas boots and just stuff.
I mean, it's telling. I was talking to a dealer that is in Northwest Arkansas, and they were trying to get a technician. There was a guy that had gotten an offer from an incredible story, from a dealer near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is flying this western part of Washington, keep going east, or eastern part of Washington, excuse me, keep going a little bit east. Beautiful place on a lake, gorgeous community, but there was a Chevy dealer there who needed a technician. So that Chevy dealer, in order to attract a technician, just kind of put out a national hope and committed to pay the guy, I think, $5,000 annual bonus plus a guaranteed like 50 hours and a minimum and a 3-year contract. Well, after 3 years, the guy wanted to move back to Arkansas. And he was basically shopping that around and eventually got hired. I mean, it was that competitive. Like where a trained technician right now is so invaluable. And it's just getting the message out to kids. It's really good. It's to students and just attracting those candidates. It's like, I mean, it's Scott, I'll hang on just a second, but to Clay's point, it's just getting that mindset of, you may think the salesman is making the money, it's really the technician, because that's driving a lot of the dealership, I guess, operating costs, on operating income.
I've got a dealer friend in Louisiana who has been buying rental property and furnishing free living, in duplexes and apartments for technicians. If they come to work for them, they can, part of their pay package is a free place to live.
That's true. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, it's a different world. I mean,
everybody
Crazy.
in the automotive world approaches it differently, but there's all kinds of things to try to entice technicians to stay.
And it really disproportionately affects rural dealers, dealers in small towns. I mean, a town like Harris, Batesville are great places to live, or Mount Elm, I guess. But those are great places to live. A lot of people want to live there, but there aren't a lot of people that live there. It's part of the problem. There are even fewer people that live there that have the training and ability to do these jobs. So anything that we can do to build capacity, we'll definitely. So whatever we can do to help it secure that grant for that, to get it where it really
Yeah,
needs
that's
to
a
be.
good Yeah.
We will definitely.
Look, I was really saddened that the legislature took that away from the commission and put us in a position where we couldn't give money to these different vocational schools and high schools to help create more technicians.
We have a plan to address that in the next session. Unfortunately, we can't address it.
So sure. With the leasing issue, is it the tax collection that seems to be the barrier?
Part of it, if you do the math, and part of my issue is I'm having to figure them out myself, but do you do many leases?
Not at all.
None.
I'll do 2 or 3 a year.
Right, and it's just
Almost nothing.
part of it, if you do the math, you actually pay more on a lease per month than you would if you would just purchase it at retail. There is a tax, several years ago, AADA in 2017, when I first started, we were able to sunset a 1.5% long-term rental tax that for years had been a huge disincentive for people to lease a vehicle. And that's what pushed a lot of people to like the old Smart Buy and some of these old balloon style payments. It kind of were quasi leases, but sort of weren't, and it kind of helped keep it helped you avoid that 1.5%. So it had 2 huge effects. One, it trained a lot of Arkansas buyers. These things are complicated. I don't want to mess with them. But 2, it also caused so much confusion within the revenue offices that dealers just wouldn't even offering it. And I know most dealers don't even have salespeople or F&I people that want to do these. They almost, I won't say they push somebody away from it, but there's nobody asking for it. So what's the point? And you're likely to have trouble getting the revenue office to even tax it correctly. So yes, part of it is getting the tax, is making certain that some of the items that might be deducted from a retail purchase are also being deducted from a lease purchase. Because there are some things manufacturer related that you can have, they can drop down that payment that are being applied in Arkansas to a retail purchase, but not to a lease. The other big hurdle is the personal property tax issue is a huge problem. Meaning the lender is paying it upfront and then they're billing the person who's getting out of the lease several weeks or months later. So they left a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. In fact, this happened with the Attorney General. Tim said he'd never do it again because he had turned in a vehicle and 3 months later gets a bill from leasing company for $900 for personal property tax. I mean, you don't even own the vehicle at that point. There has to be a way to get that, to pay that up front, to figure that in. Everybody understands there might be a few dollars difference here and there, but when you're nearing $1,000, so whatever, it's going to be working with I've put together a working group. Obviously, this affects some of the higher line dealers initially. Gulf States Toyota is very active in this. Toyota Motor Company is very active in this realm. And the manufacturer, a lot of their employees are getting, they have incentives pay-wise to get leasing up. So they're really wanting us to push this as well. I want to do it because I think it's a huge problem for Arkansas dealers competitively. When you are being forced to sell some vehicles, and it may not matter as much in 2024, 2025, but by 2030, if we haven't figured it, there's still a $7,500 tax credit on EVs if that market is starting to grow a little bit more. That right now is the difference in a lot of people's decision to buy one, honestly.
Well, I know that manufacturers have put some very, very attractive lease payments out on EVs and plug-in hybrids, at least the ones we represent.
Yep.
And for that reason, leasing is now, when you're talking about an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid, it's now part of the discussion because the payment is affected greatly. You can lease one of these plug-in hybrid Stellantis vehicles for far less money than you can own it.
And it's likely that buyer is buying that as a second or potentially third vehicle anyway. So it makes a lot of sense to them. They even have the mileage restrictions. I have been told, I don't have the numbers specifically, but I know in a lot of markets in the Northeast, leasing is 50% up there of a dealer. So it's, some of it's just buyer patterns, some of it is systemic, but it's a big issue I've got to address. It's one that I was actually talking to the dealer the other day that I brought it up to, and he's really active on our legislative side. And he said, that's not even that big of a deal to me. And I said, I know it's not. This is one of those, you just got to believe me. We need to try to get this fixed today. Yeah, it will become one, and if we don't figure it out now and start giving dealers the tools to sell these, and in my view, though, part of it too is just the cost of vehicles. It's truly getting exponentially higher, and at some point, in order to open up keep the buyer pool open, we really do need to fix this. So that is a goal for AADA moving forward in the 2025 legislative session. Really won't affect this group, except my had consumer complaints, I don't mind. Half the time I get calls all the time from dealers that have gone to a revenue office to try to, or their customers going to register the vehicle and they're being taxed improperly, and then we contact the revenue office. It's just things like that that have to get.
Their education,
Yeah.
we have to educate them now.
Yeah.
If that's what we're doing.
Is there any evidence that people are intentionally leasing vehicles out of state in order to avoid some of these problems?
I don't know if it's intentional, but I just anecdotally, I mean, I know Texas is lease penetration on the Toyota side at least, it's 35%. I mean, there's a Toyota dealer in Texarkana, so I don't know the numbers that are being, but of course there is an Arkansas equivalent on the Arkansas side. I don't know if a lot of people leaving the state that do that. I just know that our number is so uncompetitive. This is the best word, that there's got to be something wrong with the way we're doing it. And the factories, to Scott's point, are really pushing these hard. Parker in Central Arkansas is probably the biggest leasing entity. They've leased a lot for years. You see their numbers?
I don't see their numbers, but it makes sense on the,
Yeah.
the Highline import stuff.
So they've had Parker between the Audi store, but even their Cadillac store, I mean, they've leased for a number of years. And that's kind of what I'm leaning on, because they are those dealerships. Winrock is involved, Colin Rockefeller's on the working group. Some folks with Gulf States and on the leasing side, on the financial side, Toyota, a guy with Toyota other finances on the working group. I've talked to Daniel about it. I think he's gonna just kind of sit by. This doesn't necessarily affect this commission. It just, like I said, it's the kind of thing that I think it's an effort to get the DFNA office convinced this is best for Arkansans. There will be a slight revenue hit if you just look at the numbers. So we've got to work through that. So you'd think it'd be easier, but let's see.
When the used car returns back to the market, there's gonna be sales tax revenue.
Absolutely.
So there's some other.
Yeah.
What you might call hidden revenues that the state will gain
Exactly.
from leasing.
And that is the data we've got. I'm collecting that data right now from the other states to show the additional revenue that a vehicle that's been leased can produce. Just then you can offset what might be perceived as loss.
Thank you. It is.
And I would like to welcome Clay Maxey. I was thrilled to call when Daniel. We're glad he's here. Clay is a wealth of knowledge. You're from Sullivan County, right? So Clay's from here. And then I first ran into him when he was in the auto park. Yeah.
Glad to have him. So, Mr. Director, are we gonna meet him? Don't know yet. We're waiting.
In April,
Do you have anything important that,
not at the moment,
but
unless,
you never know.
yeah, we never know. It just depends on how much we have and whether or not I can get the group that has to make the recommendations on the grant to get it back to us.
Or, okay, that
If not, we'll have
happens.
to do it in May.
Sure.
It just depends on how fast they can move.
Okay, so hang tight and put that on your calendar and then
Just
they'll
keep
let
it,
you know.
keep that date on your calendar.
Right.
Should be in April or May. It'll be either one of the other, we'll have to meet the. It was a grant.
Sure. Is there any other business to come before us? I hear a motion for adjournment. Thanks, Jimmy.
Motion made to adjourn.
Okay, thanks, yeah.
I'll make
I second. Jimmy, you can second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all for your attendance and for being here.
Claim that's gonna take some pages, I make notes on.
Yeah.
Okay, and or you can. Long time.